What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Light Lessons with Sierra. This is our 13th episode. I can't even believe it. And this episode, we are talking about, can you see it? Trust and release. Trust and release. To match with what's going on in the world, everything is unpredictable, and this week was true trust and release as we even filmed the episode because we had technical difficulties. I want you to stick with especially the first 5 minutes because there's really good worthy stuff in there. There's just a little bit of a technical difficulty, but it's such good stuff I couldn't edit it out. So I'm trusting and releasing this episode to all of you. My guest this week needs no introduction. Most of you probably know him from television, from film, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, playing, you guessed it, Tituss. But I know him from my Broadway debut in The Little Mermaid. Tituss was the first cast member that I met, one of the first friends that I made. And we bonded over talking about real life, real deep life stuff. He's somebody who brought me a lot of light, a true light worker. He's an incredible person, an incredible friend, as you know, an incredible performer. I'm really excited for you to hear what he has to say, the stories that he has to tell, the invaluable lessons that he had to share around trust and release. I am so excited for this 13th episode, Trust and Release with Tituss Burgess.
Yeah.
Hi. Wait, can you hear me? Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh my God. Wait, I gotta switch to gallery view.
Gorgeous. How are you, baby?
Oh, I'm so good. How are you?
I'm good. It's so good to see you.
I'm using a hotspot right now because my internet has gone down.
It stands to reason because it knows you are about to do a good thing.
There's nothing you can do.
Absolutely. This is actually, are you recording this? Because this is it.
Honey, I'm recording this.
Yeah. There's nothing you can do.
No, my heart is full right now just seeing you.
Oh, sweetie. Likewise. The side of you always takes me back to, it's funny how we look at the past and how we can romanticize the past and how all the monstrosities and atrocities that have revealed themselves to us now have always been lying dormant. And in fact, were lying dormant while we were experiencing some of the highlights of our own personal lives. And yet I'm able to look at you and remember being in that space and it somehow feeling that it was all at bay, only it was right under our nose. And it makes me wonder what part of our responsibility is to always be aware that nothing is as it seems.
Yes.
But that does not negate a very beautiful, real moment you can be having inside the macro of organized chaos, and it should not discredit it. So I guess the point is, it's lovely seeing you too. And it takes me back to what I was almost about to call a simpler time, only I don't think it was so simple at all.
I totally know what you're saying. That's why I wanted to bring you on Light Lessons because, first of all, you're one of the first friends that I had during Mermaid. You are the first cast member that I met. Remember you came to my birthday. We didn't even know each other and you showed up.
I fully remember. I remember.
You, for me, I think are one of the reasons that I could get through that time. I knew that I had a support system in you.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
And you are one of my favorite things and gifts about that time and about that show. The very first time that I ever had to sing Part of Your World live in New York, that I was about to sing this song live, and I was terrified. And I called you, and this makes me weep, and you said to me, "You have nothing to prove, only to share."
And to share.
And I have never forgotten that. And I have shared that because you knew what I was about to do. And honestly, Tituss, that quote encapsulates the reason for the season, trust and release.
Yeah.
That quote is that, trust and release, let go. You have nothing to prove. Trust. Just share, just release, just share. So I just wanted to start with that. I sent you the list of light lessons, and you I mean, I hadn't even pressed send, and you already you knew.
It's hysterical.
What made you choose trust and release?
Oh goodness. So much of my time here on earth has been in a space where I inherited situations that I would not have chosen for myself. Built into all that are inherent in the inheritance is trust, and more often than not, the absence of it. For me, my inheritance was some gifts, some natural gifts, and then there were also some trauma passed down, and there was also some behavioral patterns around me that manifest themselves in abuse that was a result of the trauma that was passed down. And so my experience on earth has always been pulling myself up by the bootstraps and just dealing with it. I learned that there was really no use and sense in whining about the inheritance, the hand that I was dealt. I was forced into very adult scenarios much sooner than I should have been. And I had to make quick decisions. And while I gave the appearance of being a child, I was very much thinking like an adult, having to figure it out on my own. One of the lessons that I learned very early on was there is nothing I can do to change what has been dumped in my lap, but I can change my relationship to how I respond to it.
Ooh.
The new world that I have found myself in, and my access to a culture and a world that I never thought early on I would have access and awareness of.
Yep.
And it comes with a great deal of inherent responsibilities. And there are some parts of the responsibility that you inherit as a residual effect of being in and of that culture. Most of those things I was not prepared for. There was no handbook on how to handle it, and I had no one to really ask or look to for support. So once again, I had to do the same thing that I did when I was a child and figure out, how am I going to respond to all of this stimuli that I don't understand, the overwhelm of being the executor of the estate that is good fortune, both good and bad. I had to change my response to. The co-pilot of response is release. Before you open your mouth, before you are obedient to that emotion, that part of you that responds, once I do that, I'm able to zoom out and look at the macro and attempt to make choices with a different type of awareness that is sans emotion and that is fully centered around what is the desired outcome. And once I can figure out what the desired outcome is, I then work my way backwards. And that is how I begin to move forward again.
That's so profound. And I wonder if figuring out what the desired outcome is a tool to help with the trusting so that you can then release.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's look at it in the way of wanting something.
Yes.
Let's look at it in the way of goals. So at the end of Guys and Dolls, I was so unhappy. I wasn't getting roles in theater that I felt I was deserving of. And I felt that I had gone as far as theater at that time was going to allow me to go.
Yep.
And I remember going to my then agents and saying, I'd like to be on TV. And his first words to me were, well, everybody wants to be on TV, but you don't have any credits. You don't have anything. So he was right. I didn't. But I didn't stop there. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to get mad at him for stating the obvious, and I'm not going to get mad at him for not believing me or seeing what I see. But what I will do is quite literally release him. I don't think I had the emotional vocabulary to articulate to you now what steps I took then.
Yes.
But my natural response was, oh, okay. I'm going to relieve you of your duties. Now, what that did was a couple things. I didn't have representation for a while. I had a manager, went to my manager, and I said, what can we do to make this dream come true? She got me an under 5 for 30 Rock. I almost missed the audition for 30 Rock. I was an hour and a half late, but I got up there and they were an hour and a half behind. And I'm not joking. I get downstairs after doing the audition, and she had already gotten the call that I got the part, ready to show up to set a couple days later, praying that someone else's coverage is first. Of course, I'm the first one to shoot anything. And my first big scene is with Tina Fey and Sherry Shepherd. And I even believe that I asked, could someone else go first? I didn't know anything about how this thing worked or that a schedule was planned out. This is theater for all, cause you know what I mean? Like, come on, like that's all that I knew.
And we don't ask for favors in theater.
And we don't ask for favors. Of course, I dove into the deep end. And what do you do when you jump off a cliff? You kind of release yourself from the earth that is beneath you.
That's right.
So that goes how it goes. At the end of my arc at 30 Rock, I was living on 47th Street between 8th and 9th. I go home and there's an eviction notice on the door. There was no income coming for the foreseeable future. I go into that apartment and I pray and I say, God, I now feel that sense of purpose that I was searching for, that I was mourning or that I was in pursuit of during Guys and Dolls. And I think I confused mourning the loss of my desire to do theater with the trepidation that I was feeling of the onset of something new.
That gives me chills.
I said, if your universe sees fit to give me a series regular on the show, I will use my pennies to give jobs to as many people as I can and create opportunities. But I want the show to have the caliber of talent that I just left, the caliber of writers that I just left, and I want it to energetically feel the same. Cut to 5 years later, broke, down on my luck, living in Harlem in a basement apartment. My manager texted me. She goes, when's the last time you talked to Tina Fey? I said, when I did 30 Rock. She goes, I think you're about to get a job or someone's playing a cruel joke. And the breakdown said, seeking the role of Tituss, down on his luck actor, wannabe Broadway star, living in a basement apartment in Harlem. Cut to me getting the job. They say, report to 52nd and 9th and someone will walk you to your trailer. My trailer was on 47th Street between 8th and 9th, right in front of the apartment that I got evicted from, where I prayed for that job. But I had to release the desire once I made it manifest in terms of words, because it took 5 years. I had to release that incessant, strange hunger that low-key was doubt that I wasn't gonna get it. When I got it and I walked into the trailer and it was this beautiful sunny day, and it just felt like this little wink, this little nod from the universe saying, I heard you, and let this be a lesson to, you know, look back. Don't even think about the ass Tituss. I think the universe was saying to me, look back at that time when you thought you were mourning.
Yes.
I was preparing you for something that you hadn't even asked for yet. But you had to release that agent. You had to release your hold of the mandate that you be a Broadway star, that you win a Tony. You had to release all of these things to make room
Yes, to make room. Do you think that in hindsight is when we realize we did the act
Oh,
of
yes.
trust and release? Or is it in the moment, are we conscious that we're doing trust and release?
Oh, I think it might be both here. I think it's in hindsight that I realized what we are talking about called trust and release was what we did. It was just a matter of, I think Eckhart Tolle wrote a book called The Power of Now. It talks about being unconsciously conscious, which is what I think I was back then. And because being unconsciously conscious is your subconscious governing your every move, but you are not conscious of it, I believe.
Yes.
And then there is consciously conscious. And I think now being able to articulate what I did in hindsight, I can now move forward consciously conscious of what trust and release is, how it works, the gains that it nets, how to put it into practice, and more importantly, how easily it is to fall out of practice of it.
Thank you for saying that, because isn't that the work that once we know, once it's like in therapy, it's like once we're therapized and we know the language to use, we know what to do, and we know the spiritual journey almost, then it's to not manipulate that. And it's exactly what you're saying, that to not fall out of it. And by falling out, meaning I'm really conscious that this is what can happen, so here's what I'm going to do. And the superficial, I'm just releasing, I'm trusting and releasing, I'm giving that.
And also there's this thing where you can be, I don't know how to articulate this one, but you can be so afraid. You can hold on to the idea of trust and release so steadfastly that what you're really doing is hanging on to fear that you're not going to get something right, which in turn is not trust and release
Correct.
at all.
I know exactly what you mean. There's these levels of consciousness. And my therapist used to tell me that's like, once you know better, you got to do better.
Yeah.
And it's like the annoying thing about growing and being better and stuff.
Yeah.
I can't make that decision now because I know better.
Yeah. Yes. Amen. I second that so hardcore. Yeah. I need to go get some water.
Do it.
Okay. I guess Ariel trusted and released. Otherwise, she wouldn't have made such a bold move. I mean, not to get too overthinky or even religious with this, but her journey kind of mirrored that of Christ in that he went down into hell for 3 days.
Oh.
So that he could ascend. I mean, like, and she like visited, granted, she went to someone she trusted.
Mm-hmm.
Or did she trust Ursula?
Do you know what I think she trusted, Tituss? She trusted her own love and passion. That's what she trusted. So yes, she went to her family member, assuming that that person is going to have her best interest. But I think that what was so strong within her was that my love and passion, and more than that, my knowing that I am not meant to be here is so strong that that is what I must do.
Right.
And it's with everything. And we can relate with your story too. That's like my knowing that I am not supposed to be here is so strong and that's for anybody in any job. My knowing is so strong. That's what I think why release is so important with that. You got to give up to something higher than us in order to make this be. And it might not be our earthly reasoning of what it should look like.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? That's like true releasing.
That is true release. That is true release. Just to clarify, you mean if receiving the thing that you prayed for, asked for, were in pursuit of, does not bear resemblance to what you thought it would look like in this lifetime. Very good. Absolutely. Because I believe that I go back and forth on where I stand with what I'm able to conceive of in terms of dreaming for myself versus a dream that He's without me that is bestowed upon.
Divinely constructed. Yeah.
Yeah. If I am in pursuit of trust and release, earlier that space that we were talking about that it creates, then I've made space for all of those divinely crafted and created and constructed dreams for me. I can now download.
100%, yes.
Yeah. So it's not so much, at least I can just only speak for me. Oh, I've always wanted to blah, blah, blah. Oh, because I can't explain these amazing things that I've gotten that I didn't dream of or even want. So is it because I did the work of clearing out that I can now walk through conscious of the greater thing that was always there with my name on it?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes. I can't remember who initially said this. Some wise person once said, and I've thought about this a lot, which is one of their favorite prayers is to release up to that is higher than me. This or something better. And then you leave it alone. I like to think of that not even in terms of earthly things. This job or something better. It's this love or something better. Whatever it is that is hot, you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. And when you said what sent a shockwave through me was maybe not even be earthly things. The mind or consciousness in general has multi-directional pull. It can ground you and make you only aware of the lies that you see, meaning that this is all that exists. And that it can make you think that your current circumstances are forever circumstances. This is your forever life, that there's nothing that lies beyond. Or it can create many mansions in your head where there are endless rooms for you to go in and roam and take up occupancy. And I love this thought of, I can't wait to pray it now that you've said it when we're done, this or something better, because sort of purging consciousness of the hamster wheel, of imprisoning you, of a running narrative that does not serve you and ultimately will prevent you from, quote unquote, the download that we discussed. To think that we can be so centered that our mind can create endless amount of space, so that even while here, we feel ever expansive and able to have the deepest connection and acquire good fortune spiritually and mentally and emotionally. I mean, those things, part of the ask when I was on 47th Street, and in fact, I didn't even pray to let me find a new apartment. And that should have been like the first thing. But you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
What I ultimately was praying for was being transformed by the renewing of my mind, that I might receive that which was already dreamt for me.
Absolutely. Sometimes we just need a break, and it's not just a break in the industry. It's a break so that I can then hear. I need to not be worried about where I'm sleeping.
I know what you mean.
And the gift was what was given outwardly, but the inward that you who Tituss is had to be aware to receive is so much greater.
It's so much greater. And if I can piggyback on that, I think I had an interview a couple of days ago, and I was telling this very story, and I couldn't articulate it at the time, but I was trying to say that while the end of this story sounds amazing, my trailer was outside the apartment where I prayed for yada yada. That wasn't the gift. The gift was knowing that I had ever present protection and guidance from something higher than myself that made a grand gesture to make sure I was aware of its omniscience, aware of its omnipresence. You can call it God, Buddha, Allah, Kiki, Kiara, Sierra. Call it whatever you want. The ultimate gift, though, was, oh boy, there is protection, particularly when I cannot see it. There is a listening ear, especially when I think no one is listening. There is a dream crafter, especially when I can't dream for myself or see the dream for myself. Like it is always there. And when I saw the brilliant display of universe, cosmos made manifest in the flesh and in earthly scenarios, it wasn't like, oh, wow, I got it. For me, it was like, okay. I was rendered speechless because you love me this much. You wanted relief for my mind that much. And not only did you love me and you want it released for me, but you want me to be in pursuit of constant trust and release, because look at all that you can do without me.
Let the people say. Better just chord.
Oh my God.
But where do you go when you need that reminder of what you just said? Where do you turn to? Where do you go to get you back on that track? Because we fall off it, like we said. We get it, but we go off it.
A therapist once told me, stop telling people all your problems and stop talking about the multitude of things that bring you sadness. That doesn't mean you can't have a trusted confidant or a small group of friends that you can vent to. But what you think you're doing is not what you're doing. You think you are talking it out. But what you are doing is you're planting seeds and creating sanctuary for bad energy to sprout, so that whenever you see whoever you've spoken to about said thing that is plaguing you, they will always, even if you've moved on, serve as a reminder of that thing. And it will always make you feel poorly. And just, he said, it doesn't stop there. Think of all the people that they've told of all of the things. And so now you are erecting a wing in your house that is growing larger and larger without your consent, that will house plants and furniture and curtains and floors and things that are built from your misery. You cannot invest in places that will do that. What you must do is set up shop in people for your hopes, for your dreams, for the things that make you happy. Talk to me about your problems, but talk to your friends about the things that make you excited, so that you invest and make wings in your house that are built of your dreams, your hopes, your this, your that, and the other. So when I'm down and I don't know how to find myself and I pick up the phone and I decide to call Sierra that day, all of that Sierra knows and has about me is the joy that she and I, you understand? Yeah. All that my bestie will do is hear what I'm talking about through the lens of what I hope to have happen, not what has already happened. There are places where I'm not even aware of, perfect strangers who, when I get on Instagram Live sometime, who remind me, because this thing is cyclical. I can spout out some brilliance to you today, and tomorrow you will say it back to me, and I will hear it like it is the first time I've ever heard it. So whether I am conscious of the search when I have gotten off course or not, I trust that there are enough places on earth where I have set up shop and sown good seeds that will just be there to remind me, especially when I can't find my way. If I am strong enough not to be lured by the sexiness of depression, because he is a seductress. He's a seductor. It convinces you that everything's happening to you, that you are the victim, and that you are powerless against it. So stay here with me why we frame the world to look like it is out to get you. When I get into those spaces, thankfully, for me, because there are many people who cannot bounce back from this.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the first person I call is my pastor. Even if I don't want to talk to her, even if I don't want to hear what she has to say, I know there's enough of the goodness that she's shown in me enough to, when I hear it, I have an involuntary reaction to sit up and take notice. It may not get me through the entire week, but it is enough to raise me up out of whatever I'm in for that moment. And then that moment of higher vibration, of higher awareness, latches on to another good feeling thing. And before I know it, I'm completely resuscitated, brought back to life. But that's why moments like this between you and I, and this series that you're doing, is so important. Because while we are talking about our past experiences and how we look towards the future and tools that we use, there will come a day when you and I might need to go back and watch this very program.
Yes, I know.
So how do we do it? How do we pull ourselves out? But we sow it into other people.
We sow it into other people. So Tituss, for our...
I can never remember the first time. What is it? Is that the first one?
Yes, that's it.
Shit. That's it.
I mean, we could literally just sit here and talk about this kind of life stuff for like the rest of our day. Will you give us, for our marination station, one final thing for us to think about in our week around trust and release?
I'm just spitballing, so this is from the heart. I suffer from severe body dysmorphia and have long since, especially during this time, battle back and forth with self-image, and I should be working out every day. I should be looking this and looking that way or whatever. I say today, let's be kind. Let's be kind to our body, and let's be consciously conscious of being kind to our minds and our bodies. Our bodies are doing everything they possibly can to catch up with the demands of our minds. So, it ain't gonna go no faster. But one thing that can go faster is you clearing out the mind to create space for the body to be what it is, where it is, how it is, for you to accept it, for you to love it. So rather than work from the inside looking at the outward through an extremely misconstrued, blurred image of self, let's reconsider how we've underestimated that we are in a global pandemic, how we are in the most divisive times across the globe, not just in this country. You know, at the start of this, Sierra and I had a bunch of technical difficulties or whatever, because we started at the top and we launched and we dove right in, and then at the end, just as just as much fervor about what we were saying. But this is also a part of trust and release, and not to sound too wackadoo, but the moment you make a conscious effort in pursuit of something different, an energy other than the one you were in practice of, you will receive everything you don't want. It just, I don't know why, but it is that way. And I have finally just deduced that it is the universe, it's its way of saying, were you serious? Are you sure? Because I'm not finna do my part if you ain't finna do your part.
And that right there, it doesn't get better than that. It doesn't get better than that. We daren't say any more, Tituss. I love you so much.
I love you
You
too.
are just one of the greatest humans and light workers. And we all know brilliant artists, but truly, what a soul you have. And I am so grateful to know you. And I'm so grateful that you spent this time with all of us today and inspired us and enlightened us more on trust and release. Thank you.
I love you, Sierra. I'll do this anytime.
Woo! All right. Bye, honey.
Bye, baby.